Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Hasina Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Consolidation continues on the RIL Street. Sensex and Nifty end with marginal cuts. Midcaps outperform. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das says that headline inflation, which gives 46% weightage to food prices, matters as people understand that. Says there's a need to preserve the credibility of the flexible inflation targeting framework. His comments come days after CE Ananth Nageshwaran reiterated adopting a framework that keeps volatile food prices out of the equation. The Board of Reliance Industries approves a 1:1 bonus issue. Record date has not been announced yet. Also clears increasing authorized share capital from 15,000 crore rupees to 50,000 crore rupees. The GST Council is likely to deliberate on tax treatment for life and health insurance premiums when they meet on the 9th of September. The Council may also clarify that payment aggregators would have to pay 18% GST on the markup fee is the transaction amount if it's less than 2,000 rupees. Automobile dealers report tepid sale numbers in August, sharp drop in passenger vehicle and CV sales. The Federation says that they are saddled with high PV inventory levels of 70 to 75 days. Add that excess monsoon disrupted demand. Express optimism about the festive season, lifting consumer sentiment. Ola Electric has been working on a three-wheeler for some time and it could be launched soon, says CEO Bhavish Agarwal. He's not too perturbed by the loss in market share, says incumbent auto majors are only half-heartedly manufacturing electric vehicles. Nykaa launches a legal battle against its former chief business officer and current CEO of Tata Cliq, Gopal Asthana, alleges data theft and harm to its business due to poaching of employees. Both parties agreed to an arbitration after a hearing at the Bombay High Court. SEBI employees hold a protest within its premises for over an hour. This comes after 500 employees wrote to Finance Ministry alleging toxic work culture. SEBI top brass claims employees are misguided by external elements to target its leadership. India and Singapore sign agreements to bolster semiconductor manufacturing, digital technology and skill development. Prime Minister Modi wraps his visit after a bilateral summit with his Singaporean counterpart. The head of interim government in Bangladesh, Mohammad Yunus, says Sheikh Hasina must keep quiet and there is discomfort over former Prime Minister making statements from India. Adds India and Bangladesh must work to improve the relationship, which he says is now at a low. All right, let's start with what was a lackluster session on the RIL Street. Sensex lost over 150 points and the Nifty declined by over 50 points as markets continue to consolidate. Midcaps fared better than the blue chips as the index ended in the green. Nifty Bank Index also managed to hold its head above water. Prashant Nair is here with the market trap.
A pretty quiet day on the index by the close of it. Although at one point, with about 30 minutes to go, it looked like the Nifty perhaps would end with somewhat of a meaningful cut. That was not to be. And by close, it was not so bad at all. But sideways, and never once did the market look like it would sort of rally or break out of the ranges. So that kind of a day. Bank Nifty also flattish, not really uninspiring kind of session for most financials today. Mid-caps and small caps, much better. Mid-cap, of course, index ending slightly higher, but the small cap index was a full 1% in the green. And that's the reason why, through the course of the day, the breadth of the market was quite positive. Where were losses? It was for a couple of days now running. CPSE, that is, government stocks were under pressure. Real estate as a pack was down. There was Max Estates down sharply, Prestige. I'll get to stocks in a bit. And there was the energy index, which was also lower. Now, I'll start with large caps in terms of stocks. Titan, LTI, Mindtree and Wipro were the winners. What was down today was Reliance Industries and pressure coming through in the last 40 minutes of trade. There was Cipla and Dr. Reddy's, which were also pressure points. Broader markets, advances to declines ratio was positive. Premier Energy, recent listing, big blockbuster day once again. Kaplan Point was a big mover. Fluorochem. There was Ecos Mobility, another recent listing. These are all, Premier and Ecos are both, this week's listings. Tilaknagar Industries was a big mover, 7%. Craftsman Auto, Edelweiss above the 120 rupee level now. UTI AMC was a big mover. Chola Holdings, Fino Payment Bank, Nelco, Muthoot Capital were some of the others which did well. On the downside, the shipbuilders Mazgaon, Garden Reach were lower. The EMS companies, Dixon, Keynes, PCBL, these were all lower. More PSUs, BEL, Oil India. But you also had real estate companies like Prestige, Max Estates, and then there were names like Uno Minda and Medi Assist, which basically has seen a sharp rally yesterday, which pulled back in trade. So a sideways day, broader markets doing much better. The big cue really is not tonight, it's tomorrow night when we get the monthly US jobs data, and global markets are waiting for that. Back to you.
Right, thank you, Prashant, for that. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das today defended RBI's inflation targeting framework as one of the 6 seminal reforms that have strengthened the Indian economy. He reiterated the RBI's resolve to bring inflation down to the mandated 4%. Speaking at FICCI's annual banking conference, the RBI asserted that headline inflation is the metric that matters because it gives 46% weightage to food prices, which people understand. The governor's commitment to the inflation target comes on the heels of the chief economic advisor criticizing the concept of inflation targeting, first in the economic survey and then in an opinion piece in the Mint 2 days ago. Here's the RBI governor in defense of the inflation targeting framework.
It is the headline inflation that matters. It is the headline inflation, with food inflation having a weight of 46% in the headline inflation, which the people understand. With the monsoon progressing well and the healthy Kharif sowing raising prospects of better harvest, there is greater optimism now that food inflation outlook could become more favorable during the course of the year. However, I must add and emphasize that we have to remain watchful of how the forces impacting inflation play out. The balance between inflation and growth is now well poised. We must successfully navigate the last mile of disinflation and preserve the credibility of flexible inflation targeting framework, which is a major structural reform. The best contribution that monetary policy can make for sustainable growth is to maintain price stability.
So that was the governor with his take on the inflation framework. Lata Venkatesh joins us for more. Lata, can you explain the origin of the flexible inflation targeting framework and where things currently stand?
Well, the flexible inflation targeting framework was formally adopted in 2015 when the Urjit Patel committee, he was then the deputy governor of the Reserve Bank, he recommended this in a report. And in 2016, it came into motion. What does it say? Basically, that the Reserve Bank and the MPC, which comprises 3 RBI members and 3 external members, that MPC has the mandate to ensure that CPI inflation, consumer price, not wholesale price, other inflation, CPI inflation remains at 4% with a margin. It can go 2% higher or lower, plus or minus 2%, because there will always be some spikes. Now, this has this succeeded? From 2016, inflation has remained above 6% for the better part, barring a few months during COVID when there were supply disruptions. Inflation has worked. The inflation targeting framework has kept inflation below 6%. And this is in sharp contrast to the previous 4 or 5 years, some say 2009 to 2013, when inflation was persistently near double digits, almost 10% for 4 continuous years. So it seems a success. Now, pre the IT framework, there was no mandate given to the Reserve Bank, but broadly it was expected to keep inflation down and also help growth. So it was not stated numerically. Now, this IT framework also has another component. Every 5 years, it goes to Parliament to be re-endorsed because it was once passed by Parliament in 2015. Now, why this debate becomes important is the Chief Economic Advisor, Ananta Nageshwaran, both in the economic survey and in a piece recently, in an opinion piece, has said that this IT framework needs to be questioned, inflation targeting framework. What are we doing? We are giving Reserve Bank a target. Now, suppose food prices rise because of a crop failure. How can raising interest rates impact it? So we are giving the Reserve Bank a target for, over which it really has no control. the causes for which it cannot control. And he also goes on to say that when there is food inflation, it is the government, the fisc, which steps in with whatever, export bans or import, lowering import tariffs or importing some kinds of pulses or whatever. So the fisc should have a voice in the committee. He even makes that point. In that piece, he also says, maybe we should go back to the previous, when the RBI did not have a target at all. It was called the multi-indicator approach, where the Reserve Bank was expected to pursue stable inflation, good growth, several targets. Maybe we should go back to that. That is the piece. So now the inflation targeting framework under the statute itself comes up for review in March 2025. Like I told you, every 5 years, it is reviewed by Parliament. The market, economists, bond traders are now wondering whether this March 25 is not going to be a cosmetic review. In March 2020, when it was reviewed, it just got passed. Exactly, 4% plus or minus 2%. Now, will they change it? Will they make it 3%? Will they make it 5%? Will they say, no, it is not going to be headline inflation. It will only be non-food, which is called core inflation. Or will it be completely removed? All those doubts have started coming into the market. This debate is important because it, clearly impacts the way interest rates will be set.
Right. Thank you, Lata, for that comprehensive explanation. Moving on, banks need to build robust risk management systems to meet Viksit Bharat goals. That's the word coming in from newly appointed DFS Secretary M. Nagaraju. Speaking at his first public address at the FICCI Banking Annual Conference, the DFS Secretary also said that both private and public sector banks need to create enough credit buffer to meet the demands of future generations. Take a look.
2047 Viksit Bharat goals, they are vast across all sectors. The banking is the key. Banking is the base on which everything will be built. And then in our endeavor to provide more credit, we should actually never think of compromising our standards of risk. I think we need to be very careful, very agile in building very robust credit risk assessment systems.
Another big story that we're tracking, the board of Reliance Industries has approved the company's 1:1 bonus issue. However, the company has not announced a record date yet. This is the 5th time Reliance will reward shareholders with a bonus share. The board has also approved the increase in authorized share cap from 15,000 crore rupees to 50,000 crore rupees. Raymond Lifestyle made a stellar debut on the bourses, listing at a premium of 93% over the base price of 1,562 rupees. The stock ended the day 5% in the red. The company was demerged from the parent company in June and will focus on apparel-related business of the group. Speaking to CNBC TV18, Gautam Singhania, managing director at Raymond, has said that he expects a strong wedding season this year and added that it could be a growth driver for the next 6 to 9 months.
So the wedding season is strong, as we said, coming up for the next 6 to 9 months. We should have a very strong wedding season, so that should drive strong growth. I think the Bangladesh opportunity is great. It's a good opportunity for us to take advantage of, and it's just playing out. So let's see how it goes.
Jewellery company P.N. Gadgil is all set to hit Dalal Street. The price band for the 1,100 crore rupees initial public offering has been fixed in the range of 456 to 480 rupees a share. The public issue will open for subscription on the 10th of September. The GST Council is likely to deliberate on tax treatment for life and health insurance premiums when they meet on the 9th of September. That's not all. The Council may also come up with an important clarification for payment aggregators. Timsi Jaipuria joins us now. Timsi, take us through the important items on the agenda.
Well, the upcoming GST Council, which is slated to meet on 9th of September, is likely to have a heated discussion on the issue of reducing GST rates on life and health insurance. What we are given to understand from sources is that the council-nominated Fitment Committee took a detailed review on the current rate of 18% for the premiums paid on both these insurance services, and it has made certain recommendations. Firstly, sources indicate that on the matter of life insurance, Fitment Committee has recommended exemption for only pure term individual life policies and reinsurances. Here, the panel says that a revenue implication is likely to be around of 213 crore rupees. The council nominated fitment committee has also taken a detailed view on the health insurance matter. Here, the fitment committee has given 4 options for the council to discuss upon and then decide. First option is exemption for all health insurances, premiums and reinsurances. Here, the potential revenue implication that they assess is of 3,500 crore rupees. Second option is exemption to senior citizens, premium and premiums with a cover of up to 5 lakh rupees. Well, over here, the implication is likely to be around 2,100 crore rupees. Third option is exemption to only those premiums which are paid by senior citizens. Here, the potential revenue implication that the council nominated fitment committee sees is of around 650 crore rupees. Fourth option is reducing GST rate on all health insurance services to 5% and not a complete exemption without ITC. Over here, the implication seen is of 1,715 crore rupees. Government is also likely to say that the council should take a decision only given the fact that the rate reduction is passed on directly to the consumers, that is those who are policy holders. Apart from that, the council is also likely to clarify that the payment aggregators such as Pine Labs, Razorpay, etc., whose platforms are being used to conduct a digital payment through a QR code scanning, POS machine, net banking, etc., for a transaction that is less than 2,000 rupees via debit card, credit card or any other payment card, that will have to be covered under the GST net, and GST on the income earned to facilitate this transaction by these payment aggregators should be charged at 18%. This is the recommendation of the fitment committee. They are also likely to suggest that the impact is unlikely to hit the consumers over here, and they say that currently payment aggregators were exempt from GST on these transactions below 2,000 rupees, but over here revenue leakage was happening. Thus, this view should be discussed in the council. Apart from this, council is also likely to be presented with a status report of the group of ministers on rate rationalization. Here, GOM is likely to seek more time and suggest a fresh review on all the terms of references, along with informing that it is likely to meet more often and the next meeting could be on 25th of September. Let's see what finally council decides on 9th of September. Back to you.
Right, thank you, Timsi, for that. On to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive now. Chennai-based ed startup Veranda Learning is looking to raise over 1,000 crore rupees via preferential issue. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the funds are expected to support the company's expansion plans, including an acquisition. HDFC Life's first quarter performance has put it on course to surpass its guidance for a 15% growth in annual premium equivalent in FY25. However, the insurer's MD and CEO, Vibha Padalkar, has said that the firm will not revise its guidance. Padalkar added that HDFC Life will double the value of new business and top line at HDFC Life every 4 years as a rule.
We had said 15%, which is on the upper end, on a full year basis. Yes, it's looking pretty good in terms of first 4 months. And like you said, upwards of 30%. But let's also be honest that there was a base effect. And so numbers for us and for everyone else is slightly looking more elevated. On a 2-year CAGR basis, it's in the mid-20s. What we have been delivering in cohorts of 4 years, and we will continue to deliver. Again, top line doubling and VNB doubling. And nothing's changed.
Right, SEBI employees held a protest within its premises for over an hour today. This comes after 500 employees wrote to Finance Ministry alleging toxic work culture. The market regulator's top brass has claimed employees are misguided by external elements to target its leadership. Automobile dealers reported tepid sales in August as monsoons dampened demand. Data from the Federation of Auto Dealers showed that retail sales fell 7.2% for two-wheelers compared to July. Similarly, passenger vehicles saw a decline of 3.46% and commercial vehicles saw a fall of 8.5%. However, dealers have also expressed optimism about the festive season, lifting consumer sentiment. Ola Electric founder Bhavish Aggarwal has hinted at the launch of an electric three-wheeler soon. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV 18, Aggarwal also said that he is not too perturbed by the loss in market share. He added that incumbent auto majors are only half-heartedly manufacturing electric vehicles.
We are focused on building the next wave of the EV journey. The others, the incumbents, like you said, Bajaj, TVS, everybody, they are finally getting into the game, and it's good to see कि उनको थोड़ी, वो कहते हैं ना हिंदी में देर आए दुरुस्त आए. So if you remember, all these people before our IPO were saying, "Arey, electric, we will see where it goes, and this is not a real business, etc." Even now, they are only half-heartedly doing it.
The government subsidies to promote the sale of electric vehicles will soon be unnecessary. That's the word from the Minister for Road Transport and Highways, Nitin Gadkari, speaking at the Bloomberg NEF Summit in New Delhi. Gadkari said the EV market has reached a point where its growth can be driven by consumer interest rather than government support. Nykaa launched a legal battle against its former chief business officer and current CEO of Tata Cliq, Gopal Asthana. The e-commerce platform alleged data theft and harm to its business due to poaching of employees. Nykaa has sought financial compensation, including the return of 19 crore rupees in ESOPs and other benefits that Asthana received. Both parties have agreed to an arbitration after a hearing at the Bombay High Court. Shares of Ease My Trip's parent company Easy Trip Planners gained as much as 11% after the company announced plans to foray into EV manufacturing. The company said that the board has approved the proposal to incorporate a wholly owned subsidiary to manufacture electric buses. No further details on the timeline of the incorporation or the cost to be incurred has been disclosed. All right, it's time for a short break, but coming up next, India and Singapore signed multiple agreements as Prime Minister Modi wraps his visit. Details when we return. Welcome back. You're watching Business 360. A quick look at the other headlines that we're tracking. The Delhi High Court has issued a contempt notice to Wikipedia, warning them that it will ask the government to block its platform in India. The government was hearing a case filed by ANI, claiming that Wikipedia failed to disclose information about users who allegedly added defamatory remarks about the company on the website. The alleged edit made on the website referred to the news agency as the propaganda tool of the Indian government. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana continue to face heavy rains and flooding. The weather department has issued an orange alert for 2 districts and yellow alert for 10 districts in Telangana. The state government has also sought immediate assistance of 2,000 crore rupees from the central government for flood relief measures. However, the centre said that the state government did not submit the required information for the release of funds. Meanwhile, the Met Department has also predicted fresh rainfall in Andhra Pradesh as low pressure is likely to form over the Bay of Bengal. And inter-ministerial team from the central government has visited affected districts. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has wrapped his visit to Singapore after a bilateral summit with his counterpart Lawrence Wong. The two nations signed 4 agreements to bolster semiconductor manufacturing, digital technologies and skill development. The Prime Minister held a roundtable with top CEOs of Singaporean companies including Blackstone, Singapore, and capital investment. Parikshit Luthra joins us now with more. Parikshit.
Well, the big headline from this visit is that both Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Lawrence Wong have decided to elevate the India-Singapore partnership to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Now, they discussed a large number of cooperation areas. You were right when you spoke about 4 key MoUs being signed. I would say the most important one here is the collaboration on the semiconductor ecosystem partnership. We've heard from the Ministry of External Affairs that at least a few semiconductor companies in Singapore have already visited 4 sites in India, and they are keenly looking at expanding manufacturing for their semiconductor facilities in India. They see India as a reliable partner. Singapore has a shortage of land, and they feel that India can be a reliable ally where they can expand their manufacturing facilities. So this is a win-win for India. We also saw the Prime Minister visiting the facility of AME, which is a semiconductor manufacturing firm, and there he urged the company to come and invest in India, make in India as well. We have also heard from the government that Invest India is going to now set up an arm in Singapore to handhold Singapore companies which are looking to trade with India, invest in India as well. The two sides also discussed collaboration on cross-border electricity trade, also trade in green hydrogen, green ammonia as well. So there were a number of areas that were discussed by both sides. They discussed the situation in South China Sea, the geopolitical situation with regard to Ukraine, the Middle East as well. So it was quite a comprehensive visit that the Prime Minister had in Singapore. He was given a ceremonial welcome, and clearly this is going to pave the way for more investments from Singapore. We've seen a big investment from Capital Land, which is a real estate company. The Prime Minister met 15 CEOs from Temasek, Blackstone, AMD. So a crucial visit overall.
Right. Thank you, Parikshit, for that update. Nobel laureate and the chief advisor to the interim Bangladesh government, Mohammad Yunus, has said that the country's relationship is now at a low. Speaking to the Press Trust of India, Yunus said former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who fled the country after protests, must stop making statements from India. Yunus said, and I quote, "If India wants to keep her until the time Bangladesh wants her back, the condition would be that she has to keep quiet." End of quote. Yunus went on to say, and I quote again, "Sitting in India, she's speaking and giving instructions. No one likes it. It's not good for us or for India. There is discomfort regarding it." End of quote. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. News and updates continue right here on CNBC TV 18.